Hey friends, welcome back to Family Friendly Movie Picks. I'm Mr. John, and as always, each week I'm going to share with you 3 hidden gems, 3 movies that I really love, and I hope you love them too. And as always, each week, parents, it's up to you to go out there on the internet, research them, see if it's appropriate for your house. And again, I've done the work for you, and I've checked out these movies. They're all available, some for a couple bucks you have to spend, but you can watch them either online or some streaming device on your computer. So without further ado, let's get into it. But I want to tell you something. This week, all our movies share a common theme. Can you figure it out? I've given you a clue. No? How about this? Does this shirt give it away? Still no? How about, I've got it. How about now? Did you figure it out? Black and white. All 3 movies this week are black and white, and I hope you like it. So let's get started with our first pick. So for this week's animated black and white, I could have gone way back. I could have done the cartoon that kicked it all off, Steamboat Willie. That's the very first Mickey Mouse cartoon. But it's a short. Most of the original black and white movies were very short films, maybe 5-6 minutes. So I decided to go with a more recent movie, but it's still in black and white. It's live animation. It's actually stop animation or stop motion. We've talked about that on previous episodes. And it's black and white. It's by a director we've talked about before. So here we go. This week's animated film is Frankenweenie. Frankenweenie is about a boy and his dog. Vincent loved his dog Sparky. They did everything together. But when Sparky accidentally gets hit by a car while chasing after a ball, Vincent takes the news very hard. Depressed and out of sorts, Vincent comes up with a plan during science class. He thinks if he can get enough electricity to pass through Sparky's corpse, he can bring him back to life. And that's just what happens. But when his secret gets out, some of the other kids insist on knowing how Vincent did it so they can bring back their dead pets too. Except things get way out of hand when this power of reanimation gets in too many people's hands. Like we talked about previously, most of the movies that he made after Pee-wee's Big Adventure had a very dark and ominous look to it. And this movie is no exception. Tim Burton was really trying to pay homage to all those old Universal monster movies. You know, like Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, Dracula, Wolfman. That whole look and feel he really captured in this movie. This movie is actually a remake. It's a remake of Tim Burton's 1984 short film with the same name. And several of the shots in this full-length feature film look exactly like the very first version, only with clay puppets. The film's a little out there, it's a little off the wall, but it's a great watch. I hope you enjoy it. It was made in 2012, so it's actually the newest film on all of our black and white films this week. So for this week's live-action black and white film, we're going all the way back to 1921. This week's live action is The Kid by Charlie Chaplin. The Kid is a story of a single mother faced with raising her infant son alone, chooses to abandon him in the back of a fancy automobile, thinking he'll find a better life in someone else's care. But when the car gets stolen by 2 thugs who leave the baby on a street corner, abandoned once again, the kid begins a life his mother never anticipated. This time, it's the little tramp who discovers the child, and when he can't find anyone to hand the baby off to, he takes it in as his own. 5 years later, and the 2 are certifiable father and son pair with an inseparable bond. But when the news gets out that the tramp is not the kid's real father, their life together gets placed in danger. Now, this is a silent movie. That means that there's no recorded dialogue for you to hear. Instead, they use big title cards. It's when the screen goes to just words that tell you either action or dialogue. This is the way all movies were made before 1927. People just hadn't figured out how to sync up the audio and the video and put them all together. So instead, they used these title cards. And for music, they would often have a live piano player or even a band in the movie theater playing the accompanying music. Movies changed in 1927. That's when Al Jolson made The Jazz Singer. It's the first time they figured out how to put the sound and the movie and all that stuff together. These were called talkies. Now, before the talkies, one of the world's biggest movie stars was Charlie Chaplin. And this was his first full-length movie. Now, in this movie, the kid, Charlie Chaplin, plays his most recognizable character, the little tramp. And he's paired beautifully with child actor Jackie Coogan. Jackie Coogan is one of the best children actors I've ever seen. He is so emotional. He'll make you cry in some scenes, he'll make you laugh in others. A true natural. Now, the first title card that you see in this movie says a picture with a smile and perhaps a tear. And for me, this totally sums up the movie. It is a comedy with some very touching, special, tender moments in it. Most of the action is understandable with no dialogue or narrative. It's a great movie for all ages. It's like watching a pantomime or playing charades. Kids, you're going to love it. Now, at the time the movie came out, Charlie Chaplin had one of the most recognizable faces on the entire planet. But his co-star Jackie Coogan was no stranger to moviegoers either. He was the highest paid and one of the most used children actors out there at the time. And well worth it. Little Jackie Coogan steals just about every scene that he's in. He was a child star in the teens and 20s. He worked in vaudeville with his parents and then started working in movies. Unfortunately, his mom and stepdad were not the best role models, and they spent the millions of dollars that he earned as a child actor. As an adult, Coogan actually had to go to court to get his parents to give him his money back. The legal battle resulted in something called the Coogan Act. It's around today, and it made any money a child earned as an actor go to the child and not the parents. They weren't allowed to spend it. Jackie Coogan grew up and became a character actor in many TV and film roles throughout the 60s. But most people know him as the bald-headed, goofy Uncle Fester in the 1960s TV show, The Addams Family. Now, several years back, this movie fell out of copyright law. So that means that it was the Wild West and people could post it anywhere they wanted. They could sell it, they could edit it, they could do a lot of things. So there's a lot of different versions out there. I've scoured the internet. I found what I think is the best and the truest one for you to access and you to watch. It's on YouTube. We've put a link down below, so be sure and click that if you want to watch this awesome film. The great thing is the music was all composed by Charlie Chaplin as well. It's one of my favorite black and whites. It actually is my favorite black and white. It's my favorite silent movie, and I hope you like it too. I even found a black and white musical for you. It's a great musical. I probably would have shared it with you even if we weren't doing a black and white theme, but this one I really think you're going to like. So this week's musical is Yankee Doodle Dandy. It's the true story of Broadway legend George M. Cohan as he reflects on his life. Flashbacks trace Cohan's rise from childhood performing in his family's vaudeville act to his early days as a struggling songwriter to his overwhelming success as an actor, writer, director, and producer, known for patriotic songs like Yankee Doodle Dandy, You're a Grand Old Flag, and Over There. This is a slice of Americana through and through. Now, it's a little bit fictionalized and romanticized version of Cohan's life, but it'll still give you an idea what it was like for him growing up at the turn of the last century. James Cagney stars in this movie as George M. Cohan. Audiences are most familiar with Cagney's rough and gruff portrayals of gangsters in most of his movies, but Cagney started out as a song and dance man, just like George M. Cohan, so it was a perfect match. Cagney actually worked months and months to master Cohan's unique, stiff-kneed style of dancing. I first saw this movie as a kid, and I fell in love with it. I love James Cagney. I love the music. I love his dancing. George M. Cohan was such a fixture in early Broadway. If you go visit New York and you go to Times Square where all the big Broadway theaters are, right in the middle is a statue of George M. Cohan himself. Not only is it a great musical, it's a great black and white musical. And that's why we're sharing it with you this week. I hope you enjoy it. Well, that's it for our black and white movies this week. That's better. So be sure and join us next week as we give you 3 more hidden gems. Also, like and subscribe to this site so that you can stay up to date when all the videos come out. And I'd love to hear from you if you want to go down below and comment. Give me what you thought of some of the movies, maybe some movies you'd like to see in the future. And we'll see you next week.